All right, speaking of other candidates, let's move on to Pete Buttigieg, because he went on Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace over the weekend defending his marriage because he has received a lot of criticism. Here he is.
I am in a faithful, loving, committed marriage. I'm proud of my marriage, and I'm proud of my husband. And I'm not going to be lectured on family values from the likes of Rush Limbaugh or anybody who supports Donald J. Trump as the moral as well as political leader of the United States.
He was responding to Rush Limbaugh's criticism that his same-sex marriage and his youth, his age, could be an obstacle for voters in the election.
You think about the fact that Pete Buttigieg did well in New Hampshire because Republican areas and Republican voters turned out and suggest that maybe he won those votes. So there's certainly much range of where Republicans think about Buttigieg. His challenge is that now there's going to be a series of states where Republicans don't get to come in and help him win. And as Super Tuesday in particular, he and Amy Klobuchar would do anything to get the kind of attention that Bloomberg's getting with his money and that Sanders has because he's already run once before.
Jessica.
So notice that the Republican on the panel doesn't want to talk about what the substance of the criticism was, which was a homophobic comment made by Rush Limbaugh there. It's really interesting to me as someone who is an open advocate, obviously, for same-sex marriage, which is now the law of the land. Thankfully, a lot of work there by Joe Biden to do that. But when you hear these criticisms from the right, and this has been consistent even going from Bill Barr saying that progressives or the secular left are responsible for the moral decay of the country. And you see a loving monogamous couple like Pete Buttigieg and Chasten, his husband, up there showing what is possible, that someone who is in a same-sex relationship could be running for president and doing this well. And then they're torn down by Rush Limbaugh, who's been married 4 times, I think. We have Donald Trump 3 times married, cheated on all of those wives, and you hear
Let's
these.
not bring in personal relationships, but we could say exactly what it is that Rush Limbaugh says so that it's fair in the conversation here. On his radio show, he said a gay guy, 37 years old, loves kissing his husband on debate stages. Can you see Trump have fun with that comment?
That is, at best an intolerant comment. At worst, it is homophobic. But I would say, from a political point of view, the age factor, the experience factor, is more likely to hurt Mayor Buttigieg than his sexual orientation. I would say this, however, it may seem counterintuitive, that if the sexual orientation is to become an issue in this campaign, again, I don't think that it will necessarily. It's more of an issue to me as a primary issue than in the general election, because someone who would vote against someone based on sexual orientation in a general election probably isn't voting for Mayor Buttigieg or any of the Democratic nominees. Yeah. But what you notice in talking to primary voters is some will say things like, well, I don't care about this, but I'm worried about him going against Donald Trump. And we polled it at Fox last month, and 47% of Democratic primary voters who were asked thought that being gay made it tougher to win. Not that they wouldn't vote against the person or vote for the person, but they thought it made it tougher to win against Trump. So that's why I would say if it's an issue, maybe more of a primary issue.
It's been remarkable. It hasn't been a focus. Like most people in America are saying, hey, let's look at his policies. Let's not look at his sexual
Well, because he
orientation.
is in a primary, and the Democratic Party is embracing of people who live all lifestyles and all colors and races and ethnicities, and that's what makes us special and why I'm so proud to be a Democrat. I think that it could be an issue in a general election, but when you are talking about it, you say, he's up there kissing his husband on stage. Did you say anything about when all of the other people who have run for office gave their wife a kiss after they won? And we don't know how tough it's going to be. We've, had a bunch of white guys do it and one really special African-American man that managed to pull it off. And this is part of the concern about women as well. That's still something in the Democratic electorate where we're worried that a woman can't win this office. But I don't want to see homophobic, intolerant comments being slung around. And I think Pete Buttigieg handled that masterfully this weekend.
All right. We appreciate everybody coming in.
Thank you to our